You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt.
Welcome back On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Don't forget you can now catch the podcast on iTunes as well as other platforms such as blogtalkradio.com and YouTube. Just search On Air with Chris Shanafelt this evening as we continue our 2019 NFL Draft Prospect Interview Series. It's a pleasure to welcome onto the show Trey Watson, linebacker out of the University of Maryland by way of the University of Illinois. Been a very busy man throughout this draft process. Trey, really appreciate you sparing a few minutes this evening. How's everything going?
Oh, man, no, I appreciate you having me. Things are going well, man. Just, getting towards the end of this training process and just trying to take it one day at a time.
All right, first things first, Trey. Avengers Endgame. After last I checked, 55,000 retweets, I believe over 100,000 likes. I mean, I know you've gotten an answer, right? I mean, that was something that kind of went viral on Twitter. You're a big Marvel fan, Marvel DC. I mean, you're a big comic book guy, or at least a big fan of those movies. Have you gotten any answer after that viral tweet?
Oh, man, definitely got some feedback and see that, there's a lot of people just like me who are looking forward to Endgame being everything we expect, and then, hopefully some surprises as well. But, yeah, man, never thought that tweet would blow up like that. That was kind of one of those just casual, hey, you can just go ahead and do it the way I want to do it. But apparently everyone wants it just how I want it. So, I'll be willing to sit in that theater for a couple hours if need be, man. So, hopefully they put on as much time as possible, give everyone the show they're looking for.
Hey, time to get to serious business, Trey. A couple months ago, you participated in the 2019 EastWest Shrine Game, one of the top college football all-star games with some of the best in the nation. Most importantly, with all 32 NFL teams represented. What was that experience like for you to be back in your hometown of Tampa, Florida, and how do you feel you performed that week?
Man, it was a great experience, being able to be back there, play your last game, in front of your family. I had, as big a crowd as you'll probably ever have at a game like that. So I was fortunate for that. But, I feel like the week went great, man. I feel like the Shrine Game was just another opportunity to play actual football, in front of some guys who are considered, higher level prospects as well. Just show what I could do, and I felt like I showed more of what I showed on tape this season, just that, I can make plays in all phases of the game, that I'm versatile, and that, I'm going to be a physical guy, no matter the competition, and I'm up to compete against guys. That was the biggest thing, and, I felt like the week went really good. I enjoyed myself there, and I feel like, I put out what I wanted to put out.
You're certainly one of the guys that seem to have made a lot of money, helped their draft stock throughout that week. If you don't mind me asking, who were some of the teams you were able to meet with, and what was some of the feedback you were able to receive? How do you feel NFL teams are viewing you as a prospect?
I met with, probably like 28 to 30 out of the 32. So, I got to talk with a lot of different teams. Some of the ones I had extended conversations with, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Broncos as well. Talked to the Jets for a while, the Seahawks. I'm trying to think what else. The Jaguars, the Colts. There were numerous teams, man, a lot of great conversations. And I think the biggest thing that they share with me is that, they know what type of player I am. They know who I am, whether or not, the media or fans or, draft ranking websites know. The coaches and scouts know, which at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones in the room making draft selections. So that's what mattered to me. And, they told me that they liked what I had done. They felt like I was a productive player, which, I definitely agree with. And, even though, I acknowledge, and so do they, that I'm not, a high caliber raw athlete. I'm not going to jump out of the gym. I'm not going to run a 4.4. I find a way to make plays. They refer a lot to play speed versus track speed. Track speed will get you some money, during this pre-draft process, but play speed will keep you in the NFL, instead of 2 or 3 years, 6, 7, 8, and up. And that's what I feel like I bring to the table. And I felt like, the scouts that I talked to all agree with that, and felt that was a vital part of what made me an attractive prospect.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you hit it right on the head, Trey. I mean, a lot of guys, your stock can either rise and it could fall just as easily throughout this pre-draft process. running the 40-yard dash, bench pressing, 225 pounds. But at the end of the day, tape doesn't lie. And, your tape over the past 4 or 5 years, again, beginning at Illinois, ending at Maryland, very impressive to say the least. Certainly one thing that jumps out is your coverage skills, certainly above average there. If for those not familiar with your game, Trey, how would you describe it? And 5 interceptions this past season, your one and only year at Maryland. What do you credit that to? I mean, is it just you, like you said, making plays? What exactly is it?
I'd say it's a variety of things. I'd say that for one, very rarely are you going to just luck into, interceptions. Especially at the college level, playing Big Ten football, quarterbacks are too good for that. Offensive coordinators are too good for you to just, randomly get a bunch of freebies. So the biggest thing about that is you have to be comfortable in your defense, which I felt at Maryland I really was. I felt like it was a scheme where I could, exploit all the weaknesses of the teams we played against and really just play to my strength, which is being able to bait quarterbacks in underneath zones, being someone who doesn't just, wander in a zone, but I actually find a way to make plays and make quarterbacks throw the routes that they think are open, and really I'm sitting right there. That was the biggest thing, find blind spots, do those kinds of things. And the defense we played there, like I said, it just really allowed me to do that to the max of my abilities. At Illinois, we played a lot more man coverage and then cover two, where there's not as much pressure in the underneath zones forcing throws. It's more so just making the offense take what you give them and make solid tackles after the fact. So that was a big part of it. And then just, being someone who is looking to make the play. If the ball's in the air, you got to take it. You can't miss opportunities dropping the ball. You have to, like I said, you have to be in the right place, knowing what to do, knowing what to expect, watching tape. Those are really the things that led to what I was able to do this year in coverage. And like I said, what the tendency, especially at the college level and below, really is when you play zone defense, guys kind of just drift in the underneath zones and really are just standing in a spot, not necessarily looking to make plays and manipulate the offense in the way they want it to go. That's what I did this year. I feel really comfortable doing that. And, I know, at the NFL, they have schemes that allow guys to do that same thing. Once you're comfortable in the defense, you know where your help is, what you're doing. It allows you to play like that and make plays.
He's Trey Watson, 2019 NFL Draft prospect linebacker out of the University of Maryland. Trey, when you hear that, has it hit you yet that, we're just about 45 days or so away from the start of the 2019 NFL Draft, and that you've officially played in your last college football game, and the next time that you will be suiting up your helmet, your pads, that you'll be in the National Football League?
Yeah, it has at the same time, and it surely hasn't in some degrees. It's crazy to think about, something you grow up, lifelong dream as a kid. Think about playing as yourself on a video game. You think about running out in front of 80,000, 90,000 fans, getting paid to play the game that so many people love to play and watch and be a part of. So, that's amazing. And it probably won't hit me for real until, they hand me a jersey with my name and number on it and hand me a helmet, with some NFL team's logo on both sides. And that'll be really the time when it hits me for real, and, I'll be able to cherish in those kind of moments. But right now, I'm just enjoying the draft process. While it's hectic and can be frustrating at times, certainly it's still fun and still going to be rewarding, at the end of the day, come the end of April. So that's how I look at it, and it's just, taking it one day at a time.
I got to ask you, Trey. We're seeing all these crazy deals from left, going left to right in the NFL right now. Free agency frenzy. You're from Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers are in need of a linebacker, especially now with Quan Alexander moving on. Any chance you were a Buccaneers fan growing up, and what would that be like for you to stay at home and play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Unfortunately, I wasn't a huge Bucs fan growing up. When I moved here in 2005. I didn't really have a favorite team. I was just a huge Michael Vick fan as a kid, so I always, cheered for him when he played for the Falcons, and then, a little bit with the Eagles as well. After that, I've always just been a fan of great football played at any level. I love talking about the game, playing the game, watching the game. So wherever it's played well, I'm always a fan of that. But, being able to stay home, that would be, pretty crazy to think about, come full circle and be playing in Raymond James Stadium. I played there a couple times in high school and in college as well. But being able to do it, for the Buccaneers would be absolutely insane. I know they just lost Quan Alexander, and I know they have the 5th pick, I believe, in the draft. So, who knows? Maybe they take a guy like Devin White early on and throw that linebacker spot, or, I'm here to come help out. If they choose to go that direction, I know that for sure.
Trey, you're one of the top combine snubs. You'll have an opportunity, though, to work out in front of scouts March 27th at the Maryland Pro Day. Where are you currently training at for your Pro Day, and do you have any numbers or any goals that you'd like to reach? I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest job interviews you'll ever have.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there will be any interview that will surpass this Pro Day, man. There's a lot that rides on it, and at the end of the day, I'm confident in my ability to go out there and perform. But I've been training here in Tampa at ASPI, Applied Science Performance Institute. Got a great relationship with the staff here. Been working there for a couple of years, so just a natural place to go. And yeah, I mean, I have some goals. I know linebackers were abnormally blazing this year in the 40, and like I said earlier, I'm not gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna go out there and run a 4.4 like Bush and White did, just because I know I'm not. That's not the kind of player I am. But I know certainly a number in the low 4.7s, high 4.6s would help me a lot. Would do a lot to impress scouts. Would probably be better than they'd expect from me, honestly. So we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna put an exact number on it, but I feel confident in how I've been working every day just to correct the technique and all the little aspects of the 40 that are the difference between a time that you can be really proud of and a time that won't do as much to help push me forward where I want to go. But at the end of the day, I'm going to ride on my football abilities. I'm going to have a great opportunity to show that in the actual linebacker drills. I feel like I'll be able to impress there, being fluid with my movement, being someone who can go both forwards, backwards, and sideways, quickly and do so in a way that'll, show scouts I can play.
Again, we're chatting with Trey Watson, 2019 NFL Draft prospect, linebacker out of Maryland. And Trey, I mentioned it, you spent your first 4 years at the University of Illinois, graduated with a community health degree. What was your experience like in Champaign, and what went into your decision to use your final year of eligibility at the University of Maryland?
Yeah, so, I mean, my experience at the University of Illinois, to say the least, while rewarding, it was quite hectic and chaotic in a variety of ways. There I had 3 head coaches, 4 position coaches, I believe, in as many years. I was fortunate to get my degree in 3.5 years. I set it up so that I would, take as many credits as I could so that I would leave my options open. Initially, it would have been to go to the NFL early and still have my degree in hand, but that didn't work out. And just the situation that I longed for coming into the University of Illinois, by the time I had graduated, it no longer was what I felt was best for me to succeed moving forward. I didn't think it just wasn't the place that I needed to be successful. So it was time to move on. Fortunately, the University of Maryland, had a big hole and a big fit, and I got to talk to the staff and I got to learn about how they play defense, what they're looking for, how they would use me, how they'd be invested in my best interest and what I wanted for my life going forward. And I felt like it was just a great fit. I felt like Coach Matt Barnes and the staff there, we clicked really well. He knew how to get the most out of me. He let me be the type of player that I felt I could be. And, I felt like I really just shined in that, having that opportunity just to play the way I wanted to play.
Yeah, and, it certainly looks like you made the right decision. Here we are now talking about your chances, and your chances look very, very good, very bright. Looks like you made the right decision to move on, play at the university, or attend the University of Maryland, play football for their program. And to say you had a big impact on the Terps defense this past season would be an understatement, Trey. You were named first team Big Ten. Doesn't get much bigger than that, playing in arguably the top conference in all of college football. You led the conference with 114 tackles and 5 interceptions. While I ramble off those numbers, and of course there are a lot of stat watchers out there that kind of just base things off of stats, the tape is equally impressive. Again, one of the top coverage linebackers in the 2019 class, in my opinion. What all went into this breakout year that you were coming off of? Was it just the situation that you landed in there at Maryland? Was it more of an opportunity to see the field more? Was it just switching up from Illinois to Maryland? What exactly was it, Trey?
You know, it was a combination of things, man. I feel like really when I was able to come into my own in college with my redshirt sophomore year, I started 8 games that season, and I felt very comfortable competing, in the Big Ten against, top programs, and I was able to do some big things there. But there, I just felt like I was limited, with some things, the scheme the staff wanted to run, just the direction they were looking for the program, the way they played players, the way they coached, the way they did things. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't allowing me to be my best. At Maryland, I got the perfect mix of everything. I got a linebacker coach, like I said, who was invested in me, who allowed me to be the type of player that I am. We communicated really well, and I feel like that just translated to more success on the field. Like I said, the scheme was diverse. It allowed me to use all of my, top attributes as a linebacker to be successful. And then it was just taking advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves. I feel like this year, more than years past as well, every opportunity that presented itself to me to make a play, to be able to be an impactful player, I feel like I took advantage of as many of those as I possibly could. And that just translated, to what some would say a breakout year for me. That was the biggest thing, man. It was the perfect storm of things coming together, and it was just the right environment for me to finally flourish the way that I felt I always could.
As of right now, Trey, you're probably looked at as a day 3 prospect. Do you have any special teams experience? Do you have any desire playing special teams? Normally, guys that are looked at as day 3 prospects, maybe undrafted guys, they normally have to make their mark first on special teams. Do you have any experience on that part of the field? And what would you, how would you go about maybe taking a role on special teams?
Yeah, certainly. So, my redshirt freshman year at the University of Illinois, I was, on all 4 phases of special teams. I had 16 special teams tackles total that year. So, I definitely know how to contribute, and I know how to carve out a role on special teams. I'm an aggressive player on defense, and that really just translates right over to special teams, making tackles, being a willing blocker, and someone, who looks to make an impact on, punt block and field goal block kind of units. And that's really the thing, especially at the professional level, is just carving out a niche, a role that you can find. I know a former teammate of mine, Justin Hardy, has made a lot of money doing very well with the New Orleans Saints, really just being a gunner and kickoff specialist. And, he blocked a couple of kicks, scored a couple of touchdowns doing that, and made a bunch of key tackles running down on punt. I'm sure there's some type of role for me doing that. Like I said, I'm more than willing to do those things and have plenty of experience on all 4 phases. Unfortunately in the NFL, it seems like kickoff and other certain aspects are starting to get phased out. But so we'll see how that, bodes for special teams guys moving forward. But there's certainly a role that, that I'm willing to take on, come that time.
Few more questions for Trey Watson, linebacker out of the University of Maryland by way of the University of Illinois, 2019 NFL Draft prospect. Leadership qualities, Trey. It seems like you have a great head on your shoulders. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. When I think of the linebacker position, I think that guys have to be vocal. They have to get players in the right position. They kind of have to be that coach on the field in some instances. What would you say are some of the leadership qualities that you bring to the defense?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, especially at the linebacker position, especially if you're going to be, the play caller, the guy with the mic in your helmet and all that kind of stuff, it requires being someone who can communicate, which requires your own confidence and your own ability and your own technique, knowing what you're doing, so you can command. These are grown men around you. You have to have a presence about you that, shows them that you can lead them the way that they need to be led. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So that's a big part of it, being able to communicate, knowing your role, knowing your assignments, and then knowing that of the guys around you. That's a huge thing, and that's something that I've always prided myself on, is not just knowing my job, knowing what the D-lines are doing, knowing their stunts and checks, being able to put guys in the right spot when they need to, because I mean, in the flow of a game, those kind of things can happen, and being someone who can make adjustments on the fly. You come to the sideline after you get burnt, after you get scored on. You have to be able to communicate what the offense was, what the what the formation was, what the personnel was, what happened, what the pass concept was, what the run was, all those kinds of things. Being able to do that on the sideline and communicate with the coaches, communicate with your teammates. That's how you make corrections. That's how you be someone who is not only effective, on the field yourself, but being able to get guys where they need to be so that the next time those type of situations come around, you make the play and you make up for what happened earlier in the game. Those are all parts that I feel like I really pride myself on, being someone who can provide those things to the team, being someone who can be there for others when they need it. Because being a leader is not just on the field all the time, being loud, doing those kinds of things. It's being someone who is relatable with your teammates. You can't just be the standalone, superstar, this and that all the time. Guys will feel like you're not approachable. You're not someone who I can talk to, about simple things that don't even have anything to do with football. So being someone who, is just relatable to everyone else, that's something that I've always prided myself on as well. And, just letting everyone know, we're all equals here, whether you're the captain, star, superstar, making all this money, in the NFL, for instance, or whether you're the walk-on guy, on the end of the bench who is never going to see a snap. That's just something that I've always carried over throughout my career.
Not going to lie, Trey, that's probably one of the best answers I've ever received to really any question I've ever asked. Well done. Again, I mean, there you have it for those listening. Certainly a great, not only a great player on the field, but a quality person off the field and a great leader both on and off the field. Trey, your father spent some time in the NFL playing defensive back. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers, played for the Chiefs, Giants, and Eagles as well. Any chance he's given you any advice as now you look to follow his footsteps in the National Football League?
Yeah, no, he absolutely has, man. I mean, growing up around someone who played football at the highest level, that's something, you can't replace. Being able to learn football, how it's supposed to be played, he taught me the little things, the technique, the terminology. So at every step of the way, I've kind of been ahead of the game on that aspect of it. And really, to be honest, that's made up for the lack of, extreme natural athleticism. You see a lot of kids, when they grow up, they're the biggest kid, they're the fastest kid, they're the strongest. That's not always the case with me, but, more often than not, I found a way to be the best football player because I know how to play the game, and that's the biggest thing that he's taught me and that I've always carried over. And, just in this process, he's been extremely supportive. He's been one of my biggest fans, along with the rest of my family. He's here for whatever I need, whenever I have questions and all those things. We talk about things all the time. He and I are, we share an extreme passion for this game, and, him being a player and now being just, a father role, that passion hasn't faded in the slightest. So it's always something that we can, come to connect with.
And final question before we let you go. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the linebacker out of the University of Maryland, Trey Watson, a part of their organization?
Man, the biggest thing about, drafting me or signing me as a free agent, whatever the case may be, no matter what you want to do, I'm going to come in and I'm going to find a role, no matter how big or how small. No matter if I'm the first pick of the draft or, the last free agent signed with zero signing bonus. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to work. I'm going to be accountable no matter what the situation is. You correct me once, you're not going to have to correct me again. And every time I go back out there, I'm going to find a way to get better. I'm going to find a way to help the team, whether I play one snap or every snap of the entire season. So that's the biggest thing you're going to get from me. And when I'm on that field, I'm going to find a way to make a play. No matter if it's a game-saving stop on 4th and inches at the goal line or the big key force fumble or interception that the team needs to turn the tide of a football game. I'm always going to be a competitor above all else. There's nothing I hate more than losing, and, I'm going to help a team win a championship in one fashion or another.
Trey, you could hear the passion in your voice. You love the game of football, and you've made it to this point for a reason. Again, congratulations on all the success. It's really been a pleasure chatting with you, man. I've had a lot of fun the past 25 minutes or so, and again, just wishing you all the best on that March 27th Pro Day, and then, of course, the weekend of April 25th through 27th. Trey, thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Any final words before we let you go?
Yeah, man, I just want to say, thank you for having me. I definitely really appreciate it, man. Anytime you get to sit there and talk about, Marvel and mix that in with football and all the other things that I enjoy, you can't get much better than that, man. It's always good, spending time doing quality things. But yeah, that's it, man. I appreciate it. Look forward to everyone, being able to follow my path, and we'll see where I land in April.